Yeah, ice cream. Yeah.
Ice Cream Man is a new horror movie that just came out and follows a creepy ice cream man who serves delicious treats to innocent children, only for those treats to make them go absolutely psychotic. And I'm not talking about the high levels of sugar. Ice Cream Man is the newest horror movie entry from genre mainstay Eli Roth, the man behind such films as Cabin Fever, Hostel, and more recently Thanksgiving. You may also know him as Sergeant Donnie Donowitz in Inglourious Basterds, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. And not to mention, I even met the dude one time. However, after seeing this movie, I don't know if I want to brag about that anymore. As I'm sure many of you know, this movie has been absolutely getting panned by everyone for a multitude of reasons. And I can't lie, I'm definitely among that crowd who hated this movie. Yeah, this movie is total dog shit. But why exactly is that? Well, sit back, relax, and enjoy an ice cream treat as I scoop out this review/rant of why this movie just didn't work for me. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, and if you do all of that, then you are officially groovy. Oh boy, where do I even begin? I guess we'll knock out the positives real quick. The kills are alright. If you're a sick and like seeing people get hacked to pieces and torn apart in very gory ways, then you'll definitely be satisfied here. Obviously, Eli Roth is a very passionate horror movie fan, especially ones that use a lot of practical effects, and you get a good handful of them here, and overall, they're pretty decent. Nothing mind-blowing here, but you can't go wrong with some good gore. And yeah, that's really the only good thing about this movie. It's all downhill from here, folks. First of all, the story. What story? All this movie is children going around killing adults in brutal fashions after eating cursed ice cream. If that's all you want to see, then have at it. But for those looking for a plot to top off their ice cream dessert, hate to say it, the toppings bar is all out of that, unfortunately. They really don't expand on this idea all throughout the movie. Well, except in the third act, but we'll get to that later. Then you have the dialogue. What else do I need to say other than it's a work of art? Scorsese, take notes here, fella. Alright, in all seriousness, it's awful. Duh. I'd say the majority of it's a bunch of harmless nothingness, but you can tell it's very much the kind of dialogue where they're trying to be quote-unquote hip with the kids, and some of these lines are truly a sight to behold. Someone in this movie straight up says he's got a bit of the tism. Yep, that's an actual quote in this movie. But don't worry folks, it gets way worse than that, as there's also a part where a full grown-ass man hears his son sarcastically say he totally doesn't want to see girls in bikinis. And then this guy follows it up with like, yeah, me neither, which he also says sarcastically. Oh, and this dude is also played by the writer and director of this movie, Eli Roth, because of course he is. Although, should we even be surprised at this point given Roth previously said this shit in an interview? I guess not. But can the acting make up for this horrific dialogue? No, you absolute fool. It's all bad. And the way these actors deliver the lines, I shit you not, it started to give off the vibes of a Darman video, which is a really bad sign if I'm comparing your movie to fucking Darman of all people. Boy, I can't wait for his next installment. Crazy ice cream man makes kids go insane. What happens next is shocking. Also, another thing this movie tends to rely on is humor, a lot of which is definitely leaning towards the offensive side. We already talked about Eli Roth's character being a creep, but there's also jokes about eating disorders as well as a blatant slur inserted as well. So, you know, that's fun. Now, let me just say that I don't mind offensive humor. I actually like it when comedy can be edgy and produce a legitimate shock out of its audience. I mean, hell, one of my favorite shows of all time is South Park. But the main reason why it didn't work for me here is because it just felt very forced. And I think it traces back to what I said earlier about them trying to be like, oh, look at us being so edgy and cool. But instead, I just found it to be incredibly cringe. But who cares about all that when you got f***ing Snoop Dogg to write a song for this movie, right guys? And it turns out that this will not be the last time Eli Roth and Snoop Dogg are collaborating together, as they also have a movie coming out titled Don't Go in That House, Bitch. And yes, that is legitimately what they decided to title that movie. I'm sure it'll be a masterpiece. Also, something else that really bothered me throughout this movie is how incredibly stupid the adult characters are. Every so often, an adult will interfere with the infected kids, whether that's trying to help them out despite clearly being unaware of their condition, or them trying to run away yet hardly making an effort at all. Look, I know less intelligent individuals visuals are a common trope of horror movies, but they overused it here so much that it really started to get on my nerves. And something else that got on my nerves here was the absolute lack of creativity throughout this movie. Obviously, you got the standard horror cliches, but the amount of horror movies this thing rips off from is utterly insane. The whole plot of this movie alone is a direct ripoff of the 2014 movie Cooties with Elijah Wood. In that, a bunch of kids eat something messed up and it causes them to go insane, and a small group of folks have to fend off these infected children. That's exactly beat for beat of what happens in Ice Cream Man, but instead just swap out the moldy chicken nuggets with ice cream and throw in a creepy ice cream man and call it your own thing, I guess. But then there's also certain scenes in this movie that are just copy and paste from other horror movies. You got one scene where this guy is sitting on a bench and behind him, more children slowly start to show up one by one before there's a giant mass of them that eventually start to go after him. It's straight up just ripping off one of the most iconic scenes from Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. Hell, they even have the audacity to include Ristledy Rostledy, the exact same song that plays in that scene in The Birds. That's not even an homage at this point, that's just straight up theft. And then you have the Ice Cream Man himself, or as I like to call him, Art the Clown without makeup, because he doesn't talk and he does these weird mannerisms. However, they actually do explain why he doesn't talk, which on that note, let's talk about that for a second. I mentioned earlier that they try to do something starting at the third act, and around there we get some exposition as to why the Ice Cream Man is doing all this. And I'm actually gonna go ahead and talk about this part right now because it's absolutely bonkers, and this does involve major spoilers. I normally don't include spoilers in my reviews of new movies, however, because this movie sucks so much, I honestly don't care at this point. So if you want to avoid spoilers, just skip to this timestamp right here. Alright, here we go. So the main protagonists go to hide in a freezer, which is located in a church for some reason, and inside the freezer is a priest. And this priest explains to our heroes the backstory of this Ice Cream Man. So the Ice Cream Man is actually named Jonathan Smiley, which is a stupid name, but who cares? And he's actually a foreigner, so he doesn't actually speak English, thus the reason why he doesn't talk in the movie. Sure, why not? Anyways, this Ice Cream Man ended up being accused of being a creep by a lawyer, which he then used children to falsely testify and send his ass to jail. That lawyer in question was actually the main protagonist's grandfather. So then the Ice Cream Man is now in jail, but then a hooded individual known as a necromancer meets up with him in jail, and the Ice Cream Man sells his soul to this necromancer so he can continue selling ice cream to children. But it creates a scenario where this Ice Cream Man is now evil and sells cursed treats to children, which turns them into rabid killers. So now the mission for these kids is to find this necromancer as well as a siren, I guess, so they can then be killed, with the necromancer in particular needing to be decapitated, which will then kill the Ice Cream Man and then uplift the curse. So they go to this gravesite for the necromancer and the siren, and they dig up their coffin to find them both in there. So the main protagonist then chops off the head and presents it to the Ice Cream Man. But uh-oh, he doesn't end up dying, because it turns out it wasn't the necromancer or the siren in that coffin, but instead the parents of the main protagonist. And the actual necromancer is revealed to be, you guessed it, the priest that was hiding out in the freezer, which now means the Ice Cream Man gets to continue on serving fucked up ice cream treats to children, and yep, that's how the movie ends. Now, if you thought all of that bullshit made absolutely no sense, I don't blame you. This is absolutely one of the most convoluted plot points I've ever seen in a horror movie in recent years, and it just worsens the tone of this already boring and uninteresting horror movie. I don't know how they did it, but they did. So yeah, there's tons of things to trash on this movie for, but I chose to save the biggest one for last, and it's by far the most controversial thing behind this movie, so it's about to get extra interesting. If you're unaware somehow, it was revealed that Ice Cream Man used AI throughout the making of this movie, which by all accounts is a big no-no in my book. And I hate to say it, it was used to a very heavy degree. The whole concept about AI being in movies is a whole nother topic, and if you want to hear me go more in depth about my take on that subject, check out this video right here. But to summarize it real quick, I'm not against the concept of AI in general, but when it's used as a cheap addition in movies, then I do not support that whatsoever. And unfortunately, you see a lot of it in this movie, and I mean a lot. It's used for some background props here and there, but easily the most blatant example would be all of the animated segments throughout this movie. So So Eli Roth apparently created these little animations he was going to use for the movie, but then he got in contact with Dark Half, which is a company that specializes in AI visual effects, confirming the use of AI in this movie. And I think we can all agree that it made this already not so great movie into a fucking disaster. And it gets even worse when you realize that Roth actually came in to justify the use of AI in this movie. As he said recently in an interview, AI was used in a very small portion of a few scenes in the film. It was an opportunity where technology and creativity came together to help bring my vision for the film to life. And that sentence alone, ladies and gentlemen, further solidifies this guy officially being a fucking hack. Look, the horror genre has revolutionized in its creativity with both practical and visual effects. So to see the complete opposite of that being incorporated this time around feels like such a gut punch to genre fans. And it's kind of concerning that we might be seeing more of this being used for future horror projects. It's a scary thought. So yeah, I think I've rambled long enough to where I think you get my point. Ice Cream Man is a soulless, mean-spirited waste of a horror movie with horrendous characters, no story, and repetitive and uninventive scares and kills. And the use of AI is really the cherry on top of this disgusting ice cream sundae of a horror movie. The only thing that's alright with this movie in my opinion is really the gore, but you can see equally awesome practical effects in much better horror movies, so there's really no point in seeing this movie all of a sudden. So yeah, avoid this movie at all costs if you can. It's really not worth your time or money. And Eli Roth, do better, man. But hey, if you did end up seeing this movie, let me know if you liked it or not. I'm pretty sure we're all gonna have a unanimous opinion on this one, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, that's all about I got for today. See ya.